This is a Beyond Barriers Unscripted Podcast, episode 25.
Take a step back and evaluate and try a new approach or a new angle.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Randy Owen, and in this episode we meet Mr. James Warnken. Now, James has a background in digital marketing, skateboarding, as well as content creation. So I'm looking really forward to sharing this conversation with you. Before we get to that, I'd like to ask that if you enjoy the show, to please consider hitting the subscribe button. All the likes help. I really enjoy any questions or comments. If you want to reach out and have any questions or comments for the show, or perhaps a suggestion for a guest, you can email me at bb.unscripted@gmail.com. And now, my conversation with James. So today's guest is somebody I actually met on TikTok. And if I had to sum you up, James, I would say you're kind of an entrepreneur, and you happen to have low vision. So today we're going to talk with James Warnken. James, are you in Ohio?
Yeah, I'm in Northeast Ohio. That's correct.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do? And can you start off with TikTok and why TikTok?
So TikTok is actually a relatively new thing for me. I've been doing marketing and digital marketing for a little over 5 years now. And it wasn't until I dived into the accessibility space when I realized that TikTok was a necessary thing, just because of the ability to reach and connect with other people that had similar goals or similar interests with me. There really isn't any other social media out there that allows you to do that as easily as TikTok. I do put content out on Instagram and YouTube, but TikTok is by far the best performing. So that's where I focus my attention on, and then kind of take that content and share it to the other channels as well.
So for the people that aren't familiar with TikTok, can you give us a brief description or summary of what TikTok is, and maybe give us your contact information for your other platforms?
So to me, TikTok is really a platform for people that want to voice an opinion or an expression or an interest. It's a video platform that allows you to record short videos and edit them right inside the app. And for me, I use it as a way to not only raise awareness around accessibility, but as a way to kind of show what living with a disability looks like from a day-to-day standpoint, and how accommodation looks from accommodating for myself, others helping me to accommodate, and really that whole all-encompassing feeling of what is a disability, what is low vision, what is being on the blind spectrum, and how does that impact the way that I live my life. Actually, my handle is the Apex Chaser across all platforms.
Okay. Why that name?
So the company that I work for full time is called Apex Communications Network. And for me, when I started with them, they really supported and believed in my goal. And up until about 3 or 4 months ago, that goal was working with small businesses to get them to be competitive with the bigger names. It has recently shifted to now I want to work with any business to help make their business accessible to everyone, not just the abled communities. So the support, the culture, the environment of Apex has really allowed me to learn and grow and develop as a professional. And so I kind of used that handle to give them the or show the respect that I have for them as a whole.
As a person with low vision, when you went in to apply for this job, what concerns did you have, or how did you have to deal with the vision loss issue?
So it's a little bit of a funny story. I didn't technically apply for the job. I, at the time, was working under my own LLC, doing freelance and contract marketing. And through a client that I had, Apex was also trying to pursue that client. And the client basically told Apex, hey, I got to talk to my web guy and see if this is a good idea for me to go with you guys. And through that, Apex asked if I could meet up with them, and we sat down and brainstormed and talked about what their goals were, what my goals were, and what my concerns were. And through that conversation, I ended up kind of test running with them for a month to see how we work together. Because at the time, Apex was a startup, I was a startup, and over the course of 30 days, we just crushed it and got along super well. So they actually just invited me to work full-time with them and still do my freelance on the side. And so I would say the big concern I had was, am I going to be able to keep doing kind of my own thing on the side and still work full-time with you guys and working with these small businesses? And because I had a number of like marketing position offers on the table, and because I had done a couple different internships and tried out a bunch of different positions, I knew that to me, what was important was the culture and the way that environment was laid out. And those other positions didn't allow me to be the person that I wanted to be. And while even though they paid a lot more money, I knew that I would ultimately be happier with going the route that I'm currently going.
Is your work remote, or do you go into an office?
So it's about, I would say, 60% remote, 40% in office.
Gotcha. Are you using any assistive technology on the job?
For me, all of the accommodations that I use are on a computer, a cell phone, or an iPad. Whether that's triple tap to Zoom on an Apple device, or whether that's using a screen magnifier on a desktop or a laptop, a lot of it just resorts back to being able to zoom or enlarge whatever's on the screen.
Why such an interest in marketing and I would say analysis? Would that be correct?
I would say it all kind of really started when I was a little kid. When I was little, I wanted to go into the NBA and be a professional basketball player. And when I was diagnosed with my disability, that didn't change my mentality right away. But as I got a little bit older, the passion was still there, but it kind of shifted from I want to play basketball to I want to work on with the basketball teams. And over time, that just kind of changed into advertising. And advertising falls under the umbrella of marketing. And once I actually got to experience some of the different aspects of marketing, the SEO, the web design, the paid advertising, those all to me were super challenging. And I'm a person that loves a challenge. So that's kind of where I fell into and where I've focused in on refining skill sets for the last 4 to 5 years now.
You use the acronym SEO. What is that?
So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and that's really just taking a website and refining and explaining what that website is all about to a search engine like Google or Bing or Yahoo. I know the other two aren't near as big, but when you explain both the content of your website and the structure and the purpose of your website, it makes your website a lot easier to be found by your customers whenever they're searching for a specific product or service or something other than the name of your business directly.
Can you talk about the creative side? You know, I look at your work that you've done on TikTok. I love the skateboard videos, by the way. It's awesome. The shove it, I knew exactly what that was too. But talk about the creative side, because, you know, what I've seen from you, there's definitely a creator in there. And how does that tie in with
Yes.
what you do as far as professionally and marketing?
So I've always been a pretty creative person. All of my siblings are all super creative and super talented. And so we all grew up drawing and painting and whatnot. And for me, that's kind of what started my whole professional career. So when I first found out about SEO, I was in the process of starting a clothing line called Clear Vision Clothing, where I was designing, pressing, and packing and shipping all of the shirts that I was doing. And so that I was being creative with that. But when it came to selling them online, I didn't know how to build a website. I didn't know how to run a social media business page or anything like that. So I took the creative aspect and implemented it into what I wanted to learn how to do. And from there, I still have people or clients that reach out and say like, hey, I need a banner designed for my website, or I need a 5x5 QR code card printed, or I need business cards, or I need social media posts designed. And so like I still get to use that drawing and physical creative side here and there. It's not near as much as it used to be, just because the skills that I have require other things. But in terms of like other activities like video games, skateboarding, playing basketball, like regardless of where my vision is, I'm still going to do all of those things. The doctors recommended that I do not, but it's ultimately my decision on whether or not I can or cannot do something.
What have you learned about the disability community through your content creation? And even more introspectively, what have you learned about yourself?
It's a good question. So I really, before TikTok, I didn't know that there were so many people openly talking about their disabilities and really owning it. And to me, that was super inspiring, and it motivated me to want to do the same thing. But for the longest time, I always said, like, I don't like being on a camera. I don't like the way I sound. I don't like the way I had all of these critiques about myself. And before TikTok, I had only ever seen a couple people on YouTube or the occasional Facebook post that my mom would tag me in or what have you. So when I started seeing more of that organic content on a daily basis, it really motivated me and got me to push myself to figure out what value can I bring to the table. How does my perspective differ from somebody else, and how do I portray that? And over the course of, I would say, the last month and a half, really, I've gotten comfortable with something that I wasn't previously comfortable with, and kind of come out of my shell a little bit in terms of being able to just point the camera at myself or have somebody point a phone camera at me and run with it. I do still have to record a couple takes of the same video before I get one that I am okay with, but I would say that aspect was a big thing for me to overcome. And then the other aspect was critiquing my ideas way too heavily. I have a lot of super great mentors around me, and they've been telling me since the beginning to just put it out there and see what sticks. And at first, I would have 30 ideas and record one and maybe put that one out there. Now I have been able to refine and kind of put out the content that I want to put out when I want to put it out, not just sitting thinking about it until it becomes an idea that I'm never going to do anything with.
How important is engagement with your followers?
So for me, I try to follow every person back that follows me. And one thing that I've made a priority is responding to messages. So a lot of the people that are engaged with my content, whether they're commenting or direct messaging me, I do everything I can to respond to those people. Now I'm working on something in the background that's still in the development phases that will kind of take that engagement a step further. But for right now, it's just been connecting with them through messages or the comment section, and not just giving them a thumbs up emoji or liking their message that they're sending to me. I'm actually having real conversations and talking about real frustrations or gratitude, or it's more than just the surface level, like, hey, I liked your comment, or thanks for sending me your latest video. I liked it before I watched it.
Did you do you ever find yourself getting in a creative rut? How do you keep the motivation and inspiration going? Would you say that part of the engagement helps to carry that?
So for me, being an analytics person, I always look at the numbers and try to interpret them. But I would say in this space and the creative space, the biggest benefit for me has been learned patience and not forcing anything. I've worked on a couple of different projects, whether it was drawing or creating videos or whatever. And when you kind of get to that point where you're ready to give up, instead of giving up, I would recommend taking a break and coming back to it after you had some time to think and reflect on why it wasn't working previously. And to me, that has been one of the biggest things, not only in a creative space, but also in a professional space, is if it's just not working and you know that it should be working, just take a step back and evaluate and try a new approach or a new angle.
Have you ever posted content and then like 5 minutes later you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that?
No. So when I started on TikTok, I would record like 3 videos at a time and keep them in my drafts. And I still have a couple in my drafts. I haven't looked at them in so long. But for me, having them in a draft where all I had to do was go in and put hashtags on it and click publish, it didn't really give me an opportunity to go back and edit it further or change this word or change that word, because it was already done. It was ready to go. So I think that helped reduce how critical I was being of myself. I'm sure there are things like on Instagram that I've posted and not gotten traction from, but for me, it's super cool if I post a video and it gets like 10 views, because to me, that's a learning experience. And why didn't that video get pushed out, or why didn't it get the same amount of comments as the last video? It's those videos that don't go or do anything are actually super interesting to me. Just because I can use it and say like, okay, I used this approach with the way that I talked, or this was the environment that was around me and it was too noisy. So I need to be in a quieter space where my audio is better, or I can look at those kind of failure videos and make adjustments for the future. So,
One of the things I like about your TikTok videos is they're not, it doesn't, and I may be wrong, but it doesn't appear that they're targeted exclusively towards folks in the disability community. It looks, it comes off to me like it's everybody's welcome. Hey, here's what we're doing. This is what we can do. Would you agree that including everybody is probably a good idea? I think a lot of times we get into this little group and focus so much on that, but we end up excluding other people. Am I making sense?
yeah, so I would definitely agree. And I think if you go back in my videos, that I was kind of sprinkling other aspects in between videos about the disability awareness or the accessibility awareness, and trying to loop in more of that general community at the beginning, because when I talk about the way that I accommodate for myself, the people that are in the disability community already understand that. The people that don't understand that are the ones that don't have a sibling or a parent or a child living with a disability. So I really tried to be intentional about the types of content I was putting out and the frequency that I was putting it out. So if you like, there's skateboarding videos, there's videos of some of the drawings that I've done. There's even a Fortnite clip in my TikTok page. And that was like strategically done to try to draw in more of that general community, to be able to say like, hey, maybe you didn't think about this. Here's an idea, rather than being so direct and saying like, you're wrong for not thinking about this. I'm trying to take a little bit more of a positive approach and say, let's try to think about this rather than you should or you have to think about this.
A recent video that you put up, I think you sent me a direct message. It was yesterday, the day before, and it was frozen dog treats, and the label was brailled. Where did you find that?
So my fiance goes grocery shopping on the weekends, and she came back, and like while I was putting all the groceries away, she like got super excited again, and she like handed me the box and like turned it so that I couldn't see the label, because I still have some vision and I could have read the label,
Right.
by looking at it. But she turned the box to the side and like told me to try to read it, and told me that the side of the box had braille on it. And like, for her to see something like that, because like you go out and like the restroom signs or the elevator buttons have braille on them, but to see a physical product on the shelf in a grocery store, to her it was super cool, and to me it was very surprising, actually. Not that's a I think more products should be like that, but the fact that she even realized it, because it's on the side of the box, so it's not a distinctive like, hey, we have braille on our packaging. The fact that she picked that box up, looked at the side and saw that, and that was her deciding factor on whether or not to buy them, because they were accommodating for people shopping regardless of their vision. That was her deciding factor. And to me, like, it was surprising that they went through the trouble to put it on the side of the box where it's not really a visible characteristic. But it was also super interesting that for my fiance, who has 20/20 vision, that was her deciding factor.
Right on.
Kudos to Dogsters.
So you said earlier that you follow, if somebody follows you, you follow them. Do you ever see somebody's content that's maybe not my cup of tea and then unfollow them?
So before I follow anybody back, I look at what kind of content they're putting out. Um, a lot of the times I'll make that judgment based on their first 5 or 6 videos. If they're just general, like a lot of them that I see are very positive and they are very kind of motivational. So majority of the people that follow me, I follow back. Um, Now there are a couple in there that are just trolling, I guess is the right word. But for me, that's an interesting can of worms to dive into, is the trolling and the negative side of the whole experience. Because like on TikTok, I haven't really experienced a whole lot of the, oh, you're faking it, or you're not really blind, or I don't believe you. But on Instagram, whenever I took the one Fortnite clip that I had on my TikTok and reshared it to Instagram Reels, the comments poured in. I think that video currently has like a little over 6,000 views on Instagram Reels, but it has quite a few comments of people basically telling me that I'm lying about being blind and being able to play video games. And to me, that doesn't bother me. It's more funny to me. And the fact that I'm aware of that and that it's going to happen, I don't acknowledge them at all. To me, I thank them for interacting with my videos so that it gets pushed to more people.
Have you dealt with low vision your whole life, or is it something that came on later? Or
So I was diagnosed when I was 9. Up until 9 years old, I think I was in like 3rd grade. Pretty normal life. But after like 9 years old, I wouldn't even say that my life really changed that much, other than the fact that I had to go to a school that was out of district because the one in my district didn't accommodate me. Other than that, like I wouldn't say my life really changed that much. So for me, my diagnosis happened when I was 9, and from ages 9 to current day, my vision has slowly deteriorated over time. And for me, that is like the best of a bad situation, because it's so gradual that I don't even realize that my vision is getting worse. So for me, the only changes were, hey, I got to go to a different school. Hey, my papers are twice the size of the rest of the kids in my class, or I have to go to a different classroom to take my tests because I need more time. Now that I'm a professional, I need to plan my transportation to go meet with a client, or I have to plan how I'm getting to and from the office. And those are really, like, outside of technology and being able to accommodate for myself, there isn't really too much that's different in the day-to-day activities. I was actually talking to one of my mentors a couple of weeks ago, and he said that people that he's interacted with think that blind and low vision people sit in a dark room with no windows all day. And like, that's the farthest thing from the truth. And for me, it's all about just kind of showing what that life actually looks like and how it's not different, whether I'm posting skateboarding or drawing or going on a hike with my dogs. Like, I still do everything that I want to do. If I am not doing it, more than likely it's because I don't want to do it, not because I can't do it.
gotcha. Yeah, I've always had kind of the attitude of, if I want to do it bad enough, I'm going to figure out some way to do it.
For sure, exactly.
What would you say to, I work for a nonprofit in California, and I work with folks with vision loss, and um, it can be isolating. And especially in a time like, with COVID and all the lockdowns, or the, social distancing and stuff we've had for the last year and a half, I've noticed there's a lot of blind and low vision content creators. Podcasts, the numbers have gone up. TikTok, definitely, there's a huge community. What would you say to someone who hasn't made that jump yet and actually created their first content and put it out there? And I think sometimes in the blind and low vision community, they think of TikTok, they think of YouTube. Oh, that's visual, and so maybe they're reluctant, or maybe they have the attitude of, somebody told me I can't do that, or why are you doing that? You can't see it. So, what would you say to that person?
So super interesting. I actually just went through this with my younger brother, who's also legally blind, and for him, he's basically was telling me or giving me the excuses: I can't record videos, I don't know how, or I can't see to do this. And my solution to him was, because he's an artist, he has visual, he has his drawings, right? He has the illustrations and the graphics that he's using. And I told him that inside of TikTok especially, there's text to speech. You don't have to record yourself. You don't even have to talk anymore. You can use a picture and text to speech and captions to get your message across in a visual way. And you don't ever show your face. You don't ever use your voice. And I sat in an Xbox party and walked him through how to use an image and text to speech to post a TikTok video. And when we got done with it, he was like realizing, he was like, oh, that was super easy. And like that, it's such an easy thing to do. The hard part is, for him at least, drawing that picture. Even though he's super talented, he spends hours on these drawings. It only took him 5 minutes to learn how to produce that video.
It's got to feel good to mentor somebody like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've always been a huge supporter / mentor of both of my younger brothers and my older siblings. And for me, and for anybody that's thinking about producing or putting out content, just do it. You'll more than likely be surprised at the level of engagement and the level of people that, or the volume of people that are interested in what you have to say, what you think about, what you're doing daily, what you're doing, what your goals are. There's always going to be an audience out there for everything. So I would say just slowly work into it. If you go back and look at my early TikToks, they're not focused on anything really. They're just kind of random whatever. And it wasn't until about a month and a half ago when I really got intentional with my content. So
do you feel like it's important to go across, so you put something on TikTok, and then do you share that content on, say, Instagram or Facebook Reels? Do you think that's important, or you just kind of feel out what's hitting and what community you're in?
So I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. And one of the things that he has always said is it's not about where you put out the content. It's about the how real your content is and how often you can put out that kind of content. So for me, if Instagram disappears tomorrow, I'm not going to be out of luck. If YouTube disappears or if Facebook disappears, I'm just putting it out on all of the platforms I can, just to diversify, so that if, like how we recently went through the shutdown of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, I didn't even know that was happening until after it was already resolved. So for me, it's all about how easy is your content to access, and how, if something were to happen on one major platform, do you have other options already in movement that you can turn to if the brakes are turned on one?
Can you talk about work-life balance?
That's a tough one. I'm still figuring that out for myself. I moved out of my parents' house in January, and working remote in my own house with just me, my fiance, and my two dogs. I didn't really have a work-life balance too much. I was either working and then working on my house, or working and working some more. And when I dove down the rabbit hole of something new like accessibility, I would sit and read articles in my free time. Like, I would sit and watch TED Talks or watch different videos talking about accessibility in my free time. I always get told that I work too much, but that's because I love what I do and I love the process that I'm going through. So to me, it doesn't always feel like work. But recently I've kind of started to force myself into a little bit of a routine in terms of how many hours a day am I actually working versus how much time am I spending today being creative, how much time am I spending with family and friends and interacting and being social, and how much time is me time. So for me, I work anywhere from 7 to 8.5 hours a day, an hour of creative time, 2 hours of family, friends, social, interactive time, an hour and a half of me time. And then in between there, you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, showering, all of that kind of stuff. And by that time, that's a full 12 to 14-hour day. And regardless of if that me time comes at 8 a.m. when I first wake up, if I need it, or it comes at 10 p.m., it's still in my routine somewhere, to where I know that my schedule can be adjusted and be adapted, but I still get all of the essential things that I currently believe that I need.
If you could have a device, in the sky's the limits, that just makes everything accessible, or if it's a existing technology and you want to take it to the next level, what would that look like?
So to me, I'm super excited to see where the direction of the wearable smart glasses goes. I know that Google's developing them. Snapchat has worked on a couple different models. I'm super excited to see where that goes, because I think it will open a whole new level of accommodation in having tech built into glasses, where you don't have to hold your phone up and scan the barcode to have it read to you what that product is, or you don't have to, for me, hold your phone 2 inches from your face to zoom in to be able to read something. So I think the wearable glasses tech, in terms of accommodations, is going to be super cool to watch that develop out over the next decade or so, if it even takes that long, just because of the level. I feel like it's going to offer a discrete level of accommodation, whereas a cell phone and an iPad and a computer, while they do accommodate, it's not always the most discreet or the most kind of hidden. And I would say that was one step up from the large print papers or the large print textbooks. Or so it's definitely moving in a positive direction. And I think that's going to be the next big step, is the glasses and having the ability to wear something with tech built right into it. that is normal and standard, like the AirPods were. So I don't know if you remember, 2 years ago, everybody was wearing AirPods. Whether they were listening to music or not, they were wearing AirPods. And I would like to see some kind of tech be like an AirPod, where it's a normal for you to wear it, regardless of whether you're using it for style or accommodation or general use or whatever. I think that is going to be an ultimate goal, and should be an ultimate goal for these larger organizations that are developing innovative tech.